This is TWiT.
I'm Jason Howell. What do you get your favorite geek who already has everything? Well, I know just the thing. It's a Club TWiT gift subscription, of course. TWiT podcasts keep them informed and entertained with the most relevant tech news and podcasts available. And with a Club TWiT subscription, they get even more. They get access to all of our podcasts ad-free, the members-only Discord, exclusive outtakes, behind the scenes and special content, and exclusive shows like Hands on Mac, Hands on Windows, and the Untitled Linux Show. You can purchase your geek's gift at twit.tv/clubtwit, and they're going to thank you every day for it.
Speaking of Twitter, were we? Elon has apparently declared war against Apple. This should be fun. Oh, yeah. Get the popcorn, kids. I did not know this, but apparently Apple represents 48% of the advertising.
Oh, I don't know if it's that much, but it's 40. I think it's 48 million.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Maybe I got the 48 wrong. Exactly. It's not.
Because I think that would be 2.5 billion if it was 48%. Yeah,
that would be really ridiculous. That would be insane. But Apple is a big advertiser. I think the biggest. Am I misremembering?
Yeah, it's the largest single advertiser. So the funny thing is, a lot of people have stopped advertising, but Apple is the one that he decided to pick on because it's a really.
And by the way, I can tell you, as an ad-supported network myself, I bet you'll agree with me, Jason Snell. The worst way to get advertisers to come back is to whine about them leaving.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Apparently, there's a strategy at work here where Elon actually has gone to a bunch of advertisers and harangued them about dropping their advertising or reducing their advertising. And you're like, well, why would you make them angry? But the other story is that a bunch of other advertisers have decided not to do it right now because they don't want to be bugged by Elon Musk. And they're like, just give him their money, and I don't want to get his phone call, which is kind of is that a strategy? But wow. I guess it is.
Also, it's not a personal thing. The Verge got to look at an email or an advisory from a group called the Omnicom Media Group that they have clients, including Apple, that they advise for advertising, and they're telling all of its clients to, quote, pause activity on Twitter in the short term, unquote. Speaking that they're concerned about impersonation, layoffs, safety issues, resignations of people who are responsible for FTC compliance. So maybe, I mean, if Elon thinks that he's so the king of the world that this can only be a personal vendetta between Apple and Elon, as opposed to, hey, I got an email from this company that we trust to keep us out of trouble when we advertise. We are one of the many companies that they told, hey, you might want to back off of Twitter. We decided, hey, that's not going to hurt us if we drop their advertising, and they did it. That's all that happened.
Elon yesterday launched a multiple tweet storm. He said Apple has mostly stopped advertising on Twitter. Do they hate free speech in America? That's an interesting conflation.
Why didn't he ask if Apple? He said he might as well just say, Apple, have you stopped beating your wife? Right? Yeah, it's one of those.
It's a boy. It really is exactly like
a joke.
Yeah,
yeah.
He said, Tim, what's going on here? At Tim_Cook. Remember, Phil Schiller did close his account on Twitter. He is responsible for the App Store, and for that reason, Elon is also tweeting, Apple has also threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store, but won't tell us why. These all came within minutes of each other on Twitter yesterday. So it's like you're declaring war, right? But Apple, quite reasonably, being a almost $2 trillion company, just said whatever.
Yeah, because that's all you do.
I feel something down there. Something's kicking my shin. I don't know what it is. But it's only a little irritating. I might, I got too many other things to think about.
No, it's exactly. No, it's when there's someone, a neighbor on your block or a coworker in your neighborhood is just being an irrational, crazy idiot, making allegations that that almost nobody is going to put any stock in. Why would you want to join? Why would you want to jump in and mud wrestle with that idiot? And now we are. I'm just baffled that someone who reports some.
I can tell you why.
Made so much money without investing in some sort of a pyramid scheme and losing it all.
I could tell you why.
It's just silly.
Elon thinks Apple's just like him, and he would never let such a thing stand, right? And so he just assumes that Apple somehow is Tim Cook is going to be like him and tweet back, which would be very good for
not a professional,
Twitter.
right?
Yeah. You're right. It's $48 million, according to the Washington Post. In the last quarter, the top advertiser on Twitter, I'm sorry, the first quarter of the year. So multiply that times 4. It's a not an insignificant amount of money. I mean, it's not billions. 4% of Twitter's revenue in Q1.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other issue is I think a lot of times people get really successful because they did the right thing at the right time, and then they map their success onto that they do the right thing all the time. Yeah. And so they're in this kind of, I think he thinks that what he does, because he had these big companies, he picked the right time to do a lot of great things that the world was waiting for, and he's become very wealthy doing that. But I think he's equating that to his other decisions are smart too, and that. And I think that he just, so of course he's looking at it through that lens. And I think that's a hard lens to look through because, he's going to.
Somebody got to him because he's pulled down a lot of these. He tweeted a meme that he wants to go to war with Apple, which is, I can't show you because it's now gone.
Well, he took a picture of a gun.
He showed this was very weird. His bedside table, which had firearms and 4 consumed Diet Cokes.
Someone said you can't have the CEO taking pictures of guns and Coke. That's like I'm saying. You can't
I get it. Guns and Coke. I get it. Lawyers, guns, and money. He's doing a Warren Zevon thing, maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, he also tweeted, "Do you know Apple puts a secret 30% tax on everything you buy through their app store?"
And the response was like,
and then
Steve,
spoiler alert.
The response to it was so funny because people were posting like Steve Jobs literally put this into a presentation. Here's the slide for your secret. So what he's probably referring to, I would guess, Apple, as you remember, took Parler off its app store because they didn't have adequate content moderation. Parler responded, and it came back. I presume that's what. By the way, Apple has done nothing publicly, but maybe he got a secret message from Tim Cook saying, "Hey, if you don't get the content moderation under control, we're going to have to yank you." I don't know, or maybe he's making it up. At this point, no one knows what the hell Elon is going on in that brain. He was like, "Why are we only getting $5.50 for every person upgrading?" And they're like, "Well, there's a
30% tax, Elon."
Exactly. So,
but he chose that because he chose to make the blue check only available on iOS.
Because I think he didn't. I don't know if he fully understood what that would mean.
No, he knew. Come on, he's not that. Is he? That's.
Or he simply doesn't, or he simply didn't have, his company simply does not have the resources anymore to make that rollout system wide on the same day, given with the staff that they have left over and on the timeline that he's demanding.
Somebody said we can do it in the app, the iOS app, Elon. He said, "Okay, do it." That's exactly what happened. Yeah, and maybe he didn't think about the 30%. Maybe he's looking in at the. Then
the check showed up, and he's like, "But I had this calculation with this much money.
I thought I'd be making more.
I
thought I'd be making more."
He's like that 15-year-old that gets his first check from Target, saying, "Wait a minute, what is FICA? And why did they? Why does he have 20% of my money?"
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
So I really, obviously we've spoken more than enough about Elon and Twitter, but it is an Apple story now because. Of all the silly things he's done, declaring war on Apple is one of the silliest. If Apple were to take, I don't know. There are plenty of third-party Twitter apps on the App Store. Would they all go too?
Yeah, there are a lot of deck chairs on the Titanic. Let's fill them all.
I don't know. Plus, you can still do it on the web, regardless, right? You can even make it put it on your home screen as a Twitter app. Yeah.
I think his issue is, I think his really big issue is that he wants to turn this into a marketplace for a variety of different Bitcoin-like things. He wants blockchain, and he suddenly realized that because he said this. There's some quote of him talking about the fact that he thinks that Twitter could make more money on the blockchain than they will with advertising. The problem is then he suddenly realized after this little thing that Apple's going to get 30% of whatever that more money is, and now he's upset.
He kind of has a point. Apple does take their vig out of every single thing. Not always 30%, sometimes 15% on subscriptions and stuff. And they also seem to enforce it a little haphazardly. Amazon, I think, has a pass, not to lose money. So I just don't. I don't want to take his side in this, but I do think he probably sees a soft spot. And he likes to poke at soft spots for sure.
The problem is he's making so many enemies so quickly.
Yeah.
If he pokes at that soft spot, it might actually make it a hard spot. Because he may be taking it exactly the opposite direction that Epic would like him to take it. Because if he starts, sometimes you don't want certain allies, going.
It also says he also tweeted Apple should publish all censorship actions it has taken that affects its customers. It's true. Apple is kind of a nanny state. I mean, has the time come where they don't have to stop us from seeing nipples? Or, I mean, that was Steve Jobs' idea. I guess do people really value Apple for that? That adult content's hard to find.
I think the argument that they have is that it's not really slowing down their business. Why would they change that? Like, why would you take the risk of making people upset when you're doing just fine without it? Like, there's just no upside.
And for those who want to see things, there's plenty of ways to see things.
Plenty of places.
Twitter, though, is notoriously laden with pornography. In fact, it's a problem because over the weekend when Chinese protests were going on, the Chinese propaganda machine spun up and managed to effectively DDoS all the cities and hashtags by putting porn on all of them. So if you were to search for, a hashtag about the Chinese protests, you would find at least half of your content would be pornography. It's presumed put up there by Chinese authorities who wanted to, flood the field with garbage. Elon tweeted, "This is a battle for the future of civilizations." Oh, please. If free speech is lost, even in America, tyranny is all that lies ahead. I think, and it was right after the Apple thing. So I'm thinking, it was right after.
We're going to change Twitter to red, white, and blue. Like we have to get this, there's got to be a flag somewhere in this thing.
Honestly, how much damage is being suffered by himself as a brand and as a respected however much respect he had. I have to say that it wasn't my respect for Elon Musk was at a very, very moderate level, because I do believe that he's very good at putting money in to companies at a point where companies could really use an influx of money. And I think that he takes a lot of credit for steering companies to greatness or having the great ideas that really take this thing into space, literally. But now we're seeing, if he has this much time, a CEO has this much time on their hands to spend this much time inventing beefs. That person, anyone who is invested in these companies, anybody who works for these companies, anyone on the boards of these companies needs to ask themselves, what could they be doing that would actually be working to help the company?
He is being sued by shareholders of Tesla over his $56 billion a year compensation package. And I think that this is part of the ammunition is, Elon, you tweeting all this stuff. Are you paying any attention to anything else? Anyway, this isn't the Elon Musk show.
Colonel Kurtz has gone upriver.
Yeah, I would like to thank Elon Musk for giving us an Apple angle so that we could talk about this wonderful story again.
Oh,
looking forward to that Elon phone that you suddenly decided you're going to move on. Make.
But I do think that in some ways that's his. It was just like Donald Trump. Like he doesn't really care if it's animosity. He just wants to get the attention, right? And so I think this is all attention getting. I mean, that seems like a 2-year-old, but that's kind of.
But the difference is that Trump doesn't have a source of income other than his personal brand.
That's a good point. Very good point.
He needs people to donate. He needs his reputation to do business deals that certainly are probably not going to work out well, but that's what he's got. So it really is in his best interest to do this sort of thing. Elon Musk, at the end of the day, he needs people to build cars for him. He needs people to build rocket motors for him. He needs customers to buy those cars and to buy those rocket motors. None of this is helping any of his businesses.
Gene Munster said, Elon is the latest chapter in a push to make App Store fees lower, and this will resurrect a topic that's been fairly quiet over the past 6 months.
Friend to the working man.
He's looking for something to grab onto because he's just flinging mud at this point, because I think the bottom line is that he's angry about Apple and the advertising part of it, because it's a large amount of their revenue, and maybe he's looking at this everything app idea and realizing that Apple's rules will stand in his way there too.
Yeah,
but he's flailing, and that's just flailing. I agree. I looking at his other businesses. I mean, the fact is, SpaceX has revolutionized access to space. It really has, and Tesla is probably single-handedly responsible for driving the rest of the car industry toward electric much faster than they would have otherwise. Yeah. However, you got to look at it now and think, and there have been some reports from people who've worked at those companies who've said, basically they built a whole structure to channel Elon's interests in very particular ways, and so that he felt like enthusiastic and fulfilled in what he was doing, while behind the scenes everybody else was basically managing way up and getting the actual details done around him. And the problem with Twitter is that that structure doesn't exist. Yep. He's just rattling around inside a big empty building, and this is what you get.
Yep. Here's Kim.com joining in. Think different, and you will be deleted. Who else but Tim Sweeney of Epic Games? He jumped right, dog pile on Apple. Sweeney said Apple blocked Fortnite, right in response to Elon. Apple blocked Fortnite within a few hours of Epic defying their policy. Would they nuke Twitter, Spotify, Facebook, Netflix? At what point does the whole rotten structure collapse? Tim, you lost your lawsuit. Just go away. just go away.
It was a good try. It made sense.
You failed.
Didn't work out the way you wanted to do. That's
This
fine.
is actually, okay, last thing. I promise. This is, though, exactly what Elon has been doing all along, which was, in effect, dividing a wedge, saying things that there's one group that's going to go, yeah, Elon, and another group go, ah! And I think that's Elon's overall strategy is to, and that's what Twitter, frankly, that's how Twitter made it for so long.
Yeah,
is generating that kind of outrage. So maybe he's just following the Jack Dorsey playbook.
I think it's a great engagement strategy, and more people are talking about Twitter and what's on Twitter than certainly since Trump was removed from the platform. But I don't see how it's a business model is the problem. Like, if there is a theory out there, and I think it's true, he didn't want to buy them. He kind of got forced into buy them, and he has a lot of people whispering into his ears about free speech and restoring all the people who got banned because they were, transphobic or racist or whatever. And, saying, no, it's good because free speech. And that's all true. But like, what is the business plan? What is the business model here? I don't think he ever had one. I think that maybe he figured he could just kind of slide in and make some pronouncements and use his Midas touch and it would all work out. And that didn't happen. And so, I don't know what the end game is here. Has he finally just embraced the fact that it's all about just trolling and engagement, and he's not really worried about it because he's got several dozen other billions in the bank that aren't related to the billions he spent on Twitter? Yeah. I don't know.
He did lose $100 billion this year, which is, it's amazing anybody had enough money to lose $100 billion and still remain.
You hate to see it.
In the richest list. Yeah. Apple, in a way, pre-responded. Tim Cook, in an interview with CBS This Morning earlier this month, was asked whether there was a risk Twitter could be removed from the App Store. Before all of this, he said Twitter would continue to be distributed, according to the New York Times, and praised its commitment to moderate abusive content. Quote, I don't think anyone wants hate speech on their platform, so I'm counting on them to continue to do that. Very moderate, Mr. Cook. The final tweet. This is from Elon. I certainly hope it does not come to that, but yes, if there is no other choice, I will make an alternative phone.
Because that's worked out for so many people.
Bravo, bravo. Even Jeff Bezos couldn't even do it, but bravo, man. Just go to town.
I am going to take on Apple, build a better iPhone so they're...
Build a better operating system. I'm sure that'll...
that's easy. He's got to know that this is absurd, and this is just to stir up the pot. It's got to be. That's all I can think.
All I'm saying is that every single week I stray farther and further away from the conclusion that he's just a quirky guy who's not used to pushback, and he's an open mouth and an open spirit. I am now starting to think that maybe he really does have some delusions here that are going, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Yeah. I'm just struggling to find some sort of logic.
Is that what you're saying? He's going the Kanye route. Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, that's sad.
Only without the musical talent.
Yeah.